Hello! Today I am back with a recipe for you guys. This recipe is really good for a day where you need productivity, but if you're a caffeine sensitive person just like me, I have actually had a lot of stories with coffee. I was so addicted to coffee in my stages when I was anorexic because it kind of helps suppress my hunger. So now I really just don't like it. I'm not really scared of it anymore, but I used to be because it makes me so anxious. So until I found out this recipe, and it's a matcha latte recipe with a twist, and you get to see what the twist is later on. So yeah. So first we're gonna start the latte. Start the base with a teaspoon or two, if you want to, of matcha powder. I bought this matcha powder from a zero waste store in Hong Kong, which is called Slowood. I buy my things from zero waste store, not all of them to be honest, but I try to buy my things from zero waste store because, you know, we gotta protect Mother Earth. And yeah, and generally it's not that expensive. I don't think it's more expensive. I feel like that's one of the things that people say just to prevent, you know, just so that they don't have to do it. I don't know. I just feel like it, or maybe to some extent it is, but yeah. All right. Anyway, and then another powder we're going to add into this matcha latte is cacao powder. So this I bought from a local bakery supply store. I am using this cacao powder called the Valrhona. I literally just spelled cacao wrong there. Cacao. Valrhona cacao. I don't know where it's from. I think that's Italian. I don't know. I'm so sorry. But it's a really dark and dark tasting matcha powder. It has got those sensual feels, you know. So the reason why you can see I'm using a half. Oh my gosh, it's so hard to focus. Never mind. I'm using a half teaspoon measurement is because we're going to add. I mean, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to be trying to add half a teaspoon of this darker cacao powder. You can use any other, but Valrhona, I really like it for my dark chocolate cakes. I usually add what's the ratio? Let me think about it. 2:1. Yes, math genius. 2:1 ratio of this and to a lighter powder, which I'm using here is Hershey's cacao. I don't really entirely like this cacao powder because it's so light, but when you mix the two together, it's like heaven. So half a teaspoon of the darker one and then half a teaspoon of this less dark one. And yeah, you can play around with the ratio, but this ratio is literally perfect. And also the difference between green tea and matcha is matcha has a lot more antioxidants, also caffeine, so that's why I add so little. But when you're drinking green tea like latte in Chinese, what am I saying, in Hong Kong, it's easier to drink more without getting that caffeine high. But for matcha, you only need so little. If you add more, the anxiety starts to kick in. So after that, you go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of hot water, about 2 tablespoons. I think 2 tablespoons is the perfect ratio. And make sure it's actually hot water. I mean, not lukewarm or warm or whatever. And then take a whisk, or if you're fancy and have those bamboo whisks, then good for you. And and then just melt it together. Whisk it. I don't normally use this kind of a glass. I normally use a smaller bowl because it's easier to get all of the powder inside, but to show you guys today, and I don't have a tripod. I mean, I don't know where it is. I don't know where it went. So I had to use this. It's funny. And I probably have to use another thing to scrape it. Maybe I'll just use the end of the whisk. I realize it's easier to whisk with a fork for now because this cup is not really helping. So yeah, and then when you're like, when it's basically this kind of like saucy state, go ahead and add a teaspoon. That's the can opening. A teaspoon of sugar. I'm using raw cane sugar without the bleach. I mean, you can use any sugar. There's no shame in that. I'm just saying. But yeah, you can also use more. I don't really like my latte so sweet because it overwhelms me. So this amount is perfect for me. But if you're new to this, Susie. But if you're new to this matcha drink, then it's probably better to start with a bit more sweetness because you might not be used to the matcha-y taste. And then I'd like to just add a drop of vanilla. Okay, 2 drops of vanilla. Another alternative is to use vanilla syrup. But I don't know why. It's like literally not a Hong Kong thing to have syrup at home, I think. Or probably just me. And I don't have any kind of syrup. I don't have maple syrup. I have honey, but that's only because my uncle thought that it's a very vegan thing to have honey, which is not, but it's fine. It's all good. Like, it's beautiful that he gave me that with such thought at heart. But yeah, that's all about this thing that I have. I didn't even used to eat honey as a kid. Yeah, okay. So once you stir it and make sure all the powders and sugar has dissolved, we will take out a pretty glass, a pretty glass, what am I saying? Glass, I don't think it's called a cup, right? It's just called a glass. I swear, when I was little, I used, oh, that's me washing the glass, I'm not peeing. When I was little and I used to, like learn what am I saying? When I was little and I learned about the word glass, I was like, wait, so like a glass cup, right, is the same as a glass. That's very interesting. Anyway, so here is the beautiful glass. I like to use a glass for this kind of drink because I just can see the beauty of it all. And then you take a lot of ice. You can also make this hot, by the way. You just have to heat your milk. And I'm using soy milk, which you'll see later, because I just like soy milk. I don't know. It just goes very well with matcha, I think, because it has this, like, the soy milk, to be honest, in my opinion, is quite, I don't know, but, like, in my opinion, it's the closest to, like, dairy milk, because it has this, like, rich flavor in it, almost. I don't know. But it's interesting, but I like it. So yeah, you can also use oat milk or almond milk. I find almond milk to be too nutty when it comes to matcha latte. So yeah, just experience. I mean, experiment. Okay, and then now you have your glass of ice and also, and you grab your soy milk. The soy milk I'm using here is, oh my gosh, let me just bring up the camera. Soy milk I'm using is this Japanese brand. I'm using sugar-free one because I like to control the sugar that's in it because it's just convenient. You can use it for cakes, anything, and shake it. This is basically the process of like getting that foam, but I'm always too lazy, and it's so just, you know, you don't have to wash that many dishes, so just shake it inside and until you can hear it kind of bubbling, and then you pour this inside. I'm not sure exactly like how much I used, but I would say this is like a cup. Okay, don't pour too much because it might get too bland. And then you get this syrup back here and just stir it to make sure you don't waste any powder or sugar and everything has dissolved. And then you pour that in and we can look at the magic together. And every time I make a matcha latte, I just feel so blessed because it starts to form these little patterns that are so unique every single time. So divine, so unique, just like you and I. And yeah. And this is how I make my matcha latte with a twist. So before I end the video, I just also wanted to say that you can do this with any kind of tea, I think. I've never tried other kinds except from matcha and pure matcha. You don't have to add the cacao if you don't want to. Or you can also try chamomile, which is very, very nice. So soothing and so warming and doesn't have any caffeine. You can try any floral teas. Floral tea? I don't know. That's herb tea or whatever. Okay? Maybe it would be even nice if you add a dash of cinnamon, but I don't really like cinnamon. So yeah. And that's it. And let me add a little straw. So there's... that looks so fine. So cute. Okay. That's the end of my video. Thank you for coming for this really divine recipe. And don't forget to add your blessings. That is the most essential ingredient of all. Think about what you created this masterpiece for and really meditate to it. I mean, you just bring it under the sun. Sometimes when it's sunny out there, I really like doing this where I just bring the drink like with the background of the sun and just let it soak in that energy. And yeah, just giving it love and admiring the patterns that are forming. And oh, thank you. Namaste.